All right, let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' first draft in a post-Tom Brady world. They did not draft a quarterback, which is weird because they did draft a quarterback when they had Tom Brady. But either way, that was just a weird pick of Kyle Trask. I like that they didn't go quarterback, at least not in round one. They're just so you know what you're looking at, the chart that you see on the screen. From left to right is the player, what position they play, defensive tackle. If it's an interior defensive lineman, I just put defensive tackle for all of them. 19 for Kalijah Kancey, that's where he was selected, and then the number on the right, that's where he was on the consensus big board. So for Kancey, it was 18. This is right around where people wanted Kancey to go. I loved Kancey out of the draft. I had him as a top 5 player, just period, out of this year's draft class. So I'm obviously thrilled as a Tampa Bay fan that he falls to my team. Listen, my mindset is pretty much this. He is a risk. There is an undeniable risk with Kancey, and I don't know if it's going to work out. I really don't. I don't think anyone, you never know if anyone's going to work out, but, with him, he is smaller. That's, again, the athletic profile, weirdly similar to Aaron Donald's, like absurdly similar to Aaron Donald's, almost exact same height and weight. He, went to the same school. Doesn't mean he's going to be Aaron Donald, though. We hope he does. That would be a lot of fun. But the chances are, if you ask me if any player is going to be Aaron Donald, I'm going to say no. So chances are he will not be Aaron Donald. That being said, he's elite at rushing the passer from the inside. His advanced analytics, which I do look at, are great in that position, which is awesome to see. I think that there's a very real chance that he could be a star pass rusher from the inside. And when you put him next to Vita Vea, that's a really dangerous situation. Who do you double team in that spot, pass rushing wise, and also run defense wise? It's very interesting as well, and I think a perfect fit as well, because one of the critiques that you get from Kancey, probably his biggest critique, and I think the biggest reason he fell, is because of the fact that he is undersized, and can teams sort of push him out of the way with double teams? And is he someone who might have to be just a obvious pass rush situations guy because he could be a liability in the run game? Well, he's not a liability when there's only one guy on him, and you're not going to double team Kancey and leave Vita Vea one-on-one. That's a recipe for disaster. So now you're not really having to worry about that as much. So I already love the player, and the few concerns I do have, I'm less concerned about because of, the situation he's been put in, and I think he can play in a 3-4-2. I think that I'm not concerned about that. So, big fan of this pick. The next pick, not quite as big of a fan of. Cody Mauch, I believe is how you say his name. He is someone who, I was a little surprised that they decided to make this selection, especially when you still had Osiris Torrance on the board, who to me I think is a great potential guard. I'm surprised he fell as far as he did. Would have liked to see them go there, so didn't love that. And again, should mention too that he played tackle, so maybe the goal is for him to actually play tackle. We don't know if he's going to be a guard, even though he was drafted as a guard. Another guy who, out of North Dakota State, so those guys are just always hard to evaluate. Big fluctuation with those guys because his production's amazing. His production numbers and his advanced stats are fantastic, but he played at such a low level of competition compared to some of these other guys. You would expect it to happen, and if he didn't have great production, it'd be concerning. That being said, PFF grades at the offensive line position do a good job at translating to the next level. His Pro Football Focus grade, best in college last year. So you like to see it. Also a bit older at 24. There's some concerns, and you can see why he fell a little bit further in the draft, but I don't hate him as a player whatsoever, and it will be interesting to see just how good of a job he can do. They also went out and they got Yaya Diaby. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your last name, but again, a very fascinating player. Now, someone who doesn't necessarily have the analytics that maybe you would like at the edge rush position. So while the first two guys definitely check that box off, Yaya, not so much. Although I would say was much better in 2021 than 2022. That's why he fell, is because he didn't have as good of a season in 2022 as he did in 2021. So hey, maybe there's some hope that he can kind of, regain his form from earlier and, get back to that player. But as of right now, he was drafted at pick 82, was 107 on a consensus big board. That feels like about where he's at, which is just a depth guy, which, hey, you can use depth guys. They matter. Then we have someone I'm very fascinated by. So Servoka Dennis, who was selected with pick 153, but another guy where, again, advanced stats very much favor him. Now, linebacker's not quite as predictable as like offensive and defensive linemen. I think if you're not paying attention to advanced stats when you're looking at offensive and defensive linemen, you're way behind the 8 ball. Linebacker, you don't have to. There's definitely several ways you can look at it, but his numbers are good. I mean, again, PFF grade 7th best in football, to use an easy to understand one. So 7th best out of over 700 eligible linebackers in college. That's very good, and that's exciting. Again, pick 153. There are concerns to be had with Servoka, but one that I'm a little bit more intrigued by and don't necessarily, I'm definitely fascinated by this selection. And again, I think this is worth, a pick that isn't even the top 150 for sure. We then have Payne Durham, the tight end who some people like a good chunk. Someone who not the fastest guy, actually, ran a 4.87, so definitely not someone who you're expecting to be a burner, but a physical player who they kind of like these guys, and I think he could be a day one contributor. Is he going to be a day one star? I hope so, but probably not. But could he be a day one contributor? Absolutely. The analytics and stuff aren't fantastic in his favor, but we're talking about a guy who's pick 171. I don't expect him to be, anything, fantastic here necessarily. So we then have Josh Hayes. Josh Hayes, cornerback, who, you notice I have a little dash next to his name where it is for the consensus big board. Couldn't find him on there. I'm not sure exactly what happened there and what went wrong, why he wasn't on there, but, that's just what happened. Is for whatever reason, he wasn't on the consensus big board. So, don't pay too much attention to that. I'm wondering, though, if, kind of a safety corner hybrid type player, I am wondering a little bit, is he someone who they feel like could be a special teams guy? And that's kind of what I wonder with a lot of these guys. Trey Palmer also, who some people liked a decent amount. He was 129 on the consensus big board, falls to 191. So that's a surprise, and maybe that's something that you can feel optimistic about, that he could be solid. But maybe those guys are just special teamers. Who really knows with this stuff? And then Jose Ramirez, the edge rusher, a bit of an interesting pick as well, because a lot of times 7th round picks are kind of special teams guys, but I've always liked the idea of not going after special teams and instead going after depth guys. I think that's what they're getting with Jose Ramirez. Could be a depth edge rusher potentially. So, as a whole, it's not the most sexy draft in the world. I think I'm happy with it, though. They got a player who I really like in Kalijah Cansey, and then a lot of players who it's like, okay, let's see what you can do. Again, a lot of times it comes down to, do you hit on these, second round and beyond guys more so than the first round selection? But also, if you hit on that first round selection, that can be great too, and I think they might have hit on their first round selection. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.